Welcome to Smalltalk Daily for Friday, July 3rd, 2009. This morning I thought I'd take a look at one other thing in WebVelocity that's interesting from a tools and development perspective, and that is when you're developing code and browsing code, you go in here. Let's take a look at this class Medialist UI. This is an application which is running on our server, and let's say I'm in the middle of browsing this method, and I wanted to look at the inherited implementation of render details on. I've overridden this method, and I wanted to look at how the basic implementation looks. So if I go to here to visibility, I can see all the superclasses. Let's go one up, and what you'll notice is that suddenly all the methods I inherit are visible, and apparently render details on is not in there. So let's go one more level up to generic collection UI, and now there it is. So you see here it shows you this is my implementation of it, but here's the inherited implementation. I can look at that too. Now if I were to write this here, I don't have to jump back down. If I'm looking at a hierarchy browser in standard Smalltalk, before I wrote my own version of this, I'd have to jump back down to Medialist UI. If I'm working here, I can be looking at this code that I've inherited. So I can look at that. That's in generic collection UI. I could then come down here to render details on, write my own version of it here without changing views, and I can do that work right side by side. And that'll be saved in my own class. All that I've changed here is visibility. I have not changed where I'm implementing code. So I haven't skipped up and I'm not adding an override in that class. I'm making the change here in this subclass. So I'll give you a simple example of that. Let's just take this method first page label, and let's just copy that code. And this is a kind of a silly way to do this, but let's go ahead and say that I want to add a new method in here. So let's go ahead and add new method, and we'll call this first page label. I've gone ahead and added that in. Now let's go down and jump our visibility back down to Medialist UI, and you'll notice that I have a method down here, first page label. Even though I was looking at the superclass, I've implemented it in my own code. And in fact, if I go back up here to generic collection UI and take a look, you'll notice that I have my implementation, which is right here, first page label, and then I have the inherited version. Now it turns out they're the same. There's no real reason for me to have done this. So if I wanted to get rid of this, all I have to do is right click here. I have delete on that. I select it, and it'll blow away my implementation in my own class, while of course leaving the inherited version alone. So that's pretty much an interesting thing about WebVelocity, is that it gives you more options in terms of looking at inherited code and writing code side by side with it. You don't have to bounce around so much between various and sundry windows that are scattered across your desktop. So it's a quick look at how development works in WebVelocity. Until next time, have fun with Smalltalk.